Well, good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are. My name is Federico Hernandez and welcome to Savvy. We're actually today's, our main topic is Foursquare Rums. And then actually put a picture that I found in Altamar Brand's website, which is a beautiful website of Foursquare Distillery Aging Warehouse. And I put a map of Barbados that shares exactly where Foursquare is. I've gone to Barbados a couple of times, and now I know it's close to the Hilton, which is it's a beautiful area. I used to go there when I was small to go surfing. Well, let's start with today's agenda really quickly, and that way I can also introduce our guest, Richard Seale. But first of all, welcome to Savvy. Appreciate everybody who's here. Let me share a little bit about the tools that we have. To the right, we have a chat box. Please, if you can write or put a comment where you're from, which country, which city you're participating, it'll be great. In the bottom area, we have a ask question. During the event, any questions that you might have, feel free to put those questions there. We're going to try to go through as many as possible. Try to share this event as I keep on going through this small introduction with all your friends through social media. That way we can invite more people to attend this live stream event. Today's agenda, we're going to be around 30 to 40 minutes talking about today's main topic. And then we'll be doing our Rum O'Clock Q&A, which will be around 15 to 20 minutes. All right, let's talk about today's main topic, which is Foursquare Rum, as previously mentioned. Our guest is Richard Seale. For those who do not know Richard Seale today is the master distiller and blender at Foursquare Distillery and R.L. Seale, based out of the island of Barbados. He's a great grandson of Reynold Leon Seale, who founded the company in 1926, making him the fourth generation to work in the family rum business. The distillery presently produces the following rums: Foursquare Rum, Real McCoy, Old Bringden, Dorley, Rum 66, and R.L. Seale. And with you here, let me quick introduction to bring him nice big screen here. Richard Seale, good day.
Hello, everyone.
All right. Richard, I see we have people already from, I see Maggie Campbell is also here. I got people from San Francisco. Let's see, Oakland, California, New Orleans, UK, London, Barbados, Milford, Connecticut, Boston, New York. Wow. Okay, the list just keeps on going on. And well, Richard, thank you for participating today. Oh, from Curacao. Wow. All right. Let's start with today. Listeners and viewers, today we're going to go through a couple of 7 questions. This is a quick glance of the questions that we're going to go through. I'm going to start with...
You got to put it back. You still didn't mean that.
Let me put you... Yeah, thank you, Richard. There
we go.
There we go. So these are the questions that we're going to ask today. And for those who are interested in seeing this video again, we're going to have it available for 1 hour after the event concludes, and you can click on replay and watch it as well. Sorry, we'll have it for 24 hours. All right. Let's start, Richard. Today's questions. The first question is: your family has a long history in the rum world. Can you give everyone a window into how the Seale family first got into the rum business and how you have evolved things over the last few decades?
Right. To try to give the reasonably compact version. So as you might imagine, rum was originally done on sugar estates. And by about the late 19th century, sugar estates would not only supply rum directly to the community, but they would use Bridgetown traders, as you might imagine, to import and distribute rum to the bars and things like that. Around the turn of the century, they passed legislation which actually forced the separation between distiller and bottler. So distillers had to sell in bulk to then wholesalers who would buy the bulk and bottle it. There's numerous reasons behind this legislation. One, of course, being taxation. Easier to collect the taxation in bulk at the distillery, and then only tax paid rum goes to bottling. So that's definitely one of the motivations. But there were other, and this of course mimics Scotland. All the famous Scotch whiskey brands, many of that we know, the blended whiskey brands, you know, Johnny Walkers and Dewar's and all those were all individual blenders, not distillers. So we have the same mirror here in Barbados, distiller estate and merchant blender. You see it also in Jamaica. You have all the estates, you know, the ones that are left today, like Hamden and things like that. And then you had the blenders. So you had in Jamaica, you had the Ray and Nephew and Daniel Vinzi and Fred Myers and all the rest of it. And so in Barbados, you had the rum came through the blending community, which were the merchant blenders in Bridgetown, just as, you know, Mr. Fred Myers and J. Ray were in Kingston, and the Scotch whiskey blenders were in the south. Distillery brands only came much later. A lot of people don't realize that Scotch whiskey brands, distiller brands, didn't start till 1964. And again, Appleton as a brand is a 20th century brand. I think it's from the 40s or 50s or something like that. So there's this separation between distiller and merchant blender. And so in Barbados, we had many. My great-grandfather was one, R.L. Seale, but we also had Martin Dorley, which survives today. We also had John D. Taylor, which survives today as Falernum. We also had, but in Barbados, names which you wouldn't see in the export, but names like ESA Field and Old Brigham, which are rums that are still sold to this day in Barbados. So that's how we started as what we call today an independent bottler, buying rum from the estates, and very much mirroring the blended Scotch whiskey. Remember, we were of course a British colony, and so by that you would buy rums from the different estates and blend. So that's and if you visited Barbados sort of in the 1940s or 50s, there were dozens of these merchant blenders. In other words, the rum, while by this time there were only a handful of distilleries, they're selling them through a myriad of merchant blenders. Distribution is very simple. It's not big giant logistics of today where large brands would dominate. So there are many dozens of these brands. They're all gone now, in the sense that our family is actually the last. So the ones that we acquired over the years, we acquired Martin Doherty, for example, in 93. We acquired ESA Field back in, I think, 63 or 64. So we've maintained some historic names, but we are the last of the merchant family tradition. When we purchased Foursquare, purchased the estate in 94, it was a closed sugar factory estate with a long history in sugar and early history in rum, as all estates did. When we purchased that in 94, it was a nice development, because it was a situation where a merchant family tradition married estate tradition. And this is, again, you can see many analogies of this in other, in Scotch whiskey, or for example, in Jamaica, when J. Ray bought Appleton Estate in, I think, 1917 or something like this. Of course, Appleton was a working estate. We bought a closed one. But so that is how the Seale family history in rum merged with the sort of estate and distilling tradition in '94. And that is why we produced rums under our own name, RL Seale, and why we produce rums under another contemporary blender of the era with Martin Dorley, and also why we produce rums under the name of the estate, Foursquare.
Thank you. Second question is, a lot of the conversation about rum online rightfully focuses on things that are wrong with the category or is shortcoming. What are some things about the category right now that makes you optimistic? What are some good things happening that you'd like to see more of?
Oh, yes. Well, I mean, appreciate that, you know, the conversation online in the groups, we're the tiny minority. And, you know, obviously we're going to have the more of the drill down conversation. It's disappointing sometimes when people come in and they get upset that the conversation is more of a critical nature. But that's very important, because sort of when I first went into the trade, it was very easy to find everyone as a fanatic. So people were, you know, I'm talking, you know, we started exporting in '99, so I'm talking early 2000s, early to sort of late 2000s. And it was very easy to just find fanaticism. And it's very important to move, for the elite anyway, for us enthusiasts, us the 1%ers, to move the conversation from fanaticism to criticism. In other words, a genuine intellectual conversation, and a conversation where we can learn and, you know, raise our knowledge and our understanding, and with that, our appreciation of rum. I think that's sometimes lost when people don't understand that when you have a critical approach, yes, it may cause you to, you know, be critical on some products, but then it tremendously improves your appreciation of the real good quality products. So that was a very good move. And what's happened out of that, which is fantastic, is the whole level of the conversation has changed, and the whole knowledge has changed. And you know, it's like today when I make a presentation versus say a presentation I make 10 years ago, the level of knowledge or the level of the presentation is vastly different, and that could only happen with the increasing knowledge and understanding. People today, you know, it's like you just asked that question, and I've been able to answer that question in a slightly more sophisticated way than I would have been able to answer it 5 years ago. And that's what's happened when I go in presentations now. I have to give a more rigorous presentation of history, technical issues. So this is fantastic. You know, I started with a mantra many years ago: drink what you like, but know what you're drinking. And the first will never change. People drink what they like, but the know what you're drinking has changed. Has increased phenomenally in the last 10 years. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Going really quickly on this slide, Richard, please share a little bit about this, the image that we're seeing.
That's the double retort pot still at Foursquare.
Okay.
So the double retort pot still is a design of pot still indigenous to the Caribbean. You can see it in Guyana, in Jamaica, in Barbados. It was seen in many of the other small islands. In fact, it used to be pervasive in the small islands, but a lot of them were lost in the 20th century. So today, some small islands like Antigua or Grenada or St. Vincent, they don't have them, but they once did. St. Lucia marvelously lost them and came back. And Grenada is going to have one back again as well. So that's fabulous. This is our version of the pot still. So you go to Cognac and you see their version of the batch still. You go to Scotland, you see their version of the batch still, and you come to the Caribbean and you see our version of the batch still.
Yeah, they look nice and shiny. Where they bought when were they bought?
That still was put in 2000.
No. Okay, let's go now to our next question. Let me change the screens. All right.
Not me again.
All right, Richard. What do you think is overvalued or undervalued by the rum aficionados? For example, maybe something like long age statement or are overvalued while column distilled rums are undervalued.
No. Long age statement, I don't think is undervalued. I think the problem, the challenges we have in rum is that rum is generally undervalued versus other categories. So if I make a 10-year-old rum, it costs more to make than a 10-year-old whiskey, significantly more. But we don't necessarily see the difference in the marketplace like that. I think it is compounded by the fact that in rum, we have overvalued products, which went back to my, there was a recent article in Spirits Business, which I had contributed to, and I basically said, stop selling substandard as super premium. A lot of people didn't quite understand it. They seemed to think it was a criticism of selling. In fact, there was a lot of strange comments about it. Sorry, they thought of it as a criticism of selling ordinary products, and that wasn't what it was at all. It was selling ordinary products as super premium. So we suddenly had all these rants of people defending, things like spiced rum and stuff like that, as if somehow I was criticizing that. I was not in the remotest. What I was criticizing was a product that basically was absolutely no different in quality than a spiced rum, both in its cost, etc., and dressed up as super premium. While rum is a undervalued category, we suffer at the same time from overvalued products within it. And the reason for that is that rum has such a poor share of the super premium market. Now, be very clear what I mean by that. What I mean is that when you look at the super premium market and what sells in super premium, in other words, what's whiskey's share of it, what's vodka's share of it, what's brandy's share of it. Whiskey has I think one of the biggest individual share. I think sort of 40% of every super premium product is a whiskey product. Rum's share is very poor, something like 5% or whatever. And so what you do is you have a lot of attempts to grow this because people obviously see a potential. And some of the attempts to grab this, increase this share are very, very poor. They are sleight of hand. They are slick marketing. So anytime you approach super premium and your product is mass produced, your product has a misleading age statement, your product has exogenous added flavor, then that really harms the category. There is nothing wrong with selling modest products. There's a place for everything. There's a place for anything that people like. There's a place for. But when the category has products that are substandard, objectively substandard, sold as super premium, we have a problem.
Which is something really interesting is that you mentioned about whiskey. Like Scotch whiskey, and particularly with Scotch whiskey, let's say like before Johnny Walker Red Label was the #1 selling Scotch whiskey, right? But now Johnny Walker Black Label, Shiva's 12 years, Dewar's 12, they're the ones that are like predominating the market more and more, right? Now they don't have the whole market share, but I see some type of similarity, saying like the more people are educated about drinking a premium or a premium rum, the market is going to grow and it's going to get better.
That gets back to my original point. The more critical we are, the flip side of that is that the more we appreciate the really good quality. So that really helps the cream to rise to the top, education and knowledge. So that's why we have to move away from fanaticism. We go giddy over every product that says rum. We have to move away from that. One of the reasons why categories like Scotch whiskey have their standards is to avoid the exact situation where I'm talking about, a substandard product being sold as super premium, because it pulls the whole category down in credibility. And so, that's why a lot of people don't get about the GI. Someone will say to me, well, why do you want a GI? Because you can keep making what you make and leave alone what they make. But they don't understand that no brand can trump a category. And what I mean by that is that all of your work on your brand, you could work really hard and have a great quality brand and tick every box and do everything right. You're still going to sink and swim on your category. So as long as rum is a category that people don't trust, then that's going to affect your brand. If your origin is an origin that people don't trust, that is your brand. I could have done everything that I've done with Foursquare in the last 20, 25 years. If I had done it, in Patagonia, I wouldn't sell a fraction of what I sell. We have the head start, the base of the provenance of Barbados. So therefore, that's how it shows you how important it is to protect your provenance, and how important it is to protect your category. So it's an easy criticism to say, okay, well, you go and do your thing and forget about everyone else. But you live and die on your category, on your provenance, on your origin. And so this is why these things are important.